There's a question quietly echoing through our modern society right now. It's a question that sort of just hangs there in crowded, bustling office buildings, in expensive apartments overlooking these glowing city skylines, and definitely during those endless late-night scrolling sessions, illuminated by nothing but the cold light of a smartphone. It usually arrives in those rare, unexpected moments of silence that manage to slip between the relentless noise of our day-to-day lives. It's simple, but honestly, it's deeply and fundamentally unsettling. Why do so many people feel completely lost?
Welcome to our explainer on the psychological research behind the human mind. Today, we're diving into the psychology of purpose, and specifically, why comfort is simply not enough. Humanity has built this incredible modern world and achieved truly extraordinary things. Yet, if we're being honest, beneath the polished surface of modern life, something feels strangely incomplete.
A lot of people experience this heavy feeling that is actually pretty tough to put into words. It's that distinct sensation of moving constantly, running on a treadmill, yet going absolutely nowhere. You're checking off all the right boxes, but you're not finding any real, lasting fulfillment. Maybe you've even experienced this strange letdown yourself. You get that massive rush of excitement from reaching a major milestone, landing that coveted job, graduating, or finally buying that one thing you saved up for years to get. But then, you quickly discover that the emotional reward fades surprisingly fast. When that initial rush of excitement evaporates, another question inevitably creeps in to take its place. What now? And this lingering, kind of empty question reveals a profound truth about human psychology. The human mind doesn't just need comfort to survive. It absolutely requires purpose. Without purpose, even our most celebrated successes and our most comfortable routines just start to feel profoundly empty. To really understand why we're built this way, we have to take a look backward. Long before we had modern cities and social media feeds, human beings lived in ancient environments where getting through the day demanded constant, unyielding effort. Literally every single day required action: finding food, protecting your family, building a shelter. Life was undeniably difficult, yes, but it was incredibly clear. Struggle equaled meaning. People knew exactly why they woke up each morning, because their actions were directly connected to their survival. But today, we've severed that connection. We've replaced the daily struggle with profound comfort, and, without really meaning to, we've inherited an overwhelming sense of emptiness. The reality of our psychology is driven by what we can call the ancient machinery. Your brain evolved inside those brutal ancient environments, where effort and meaning were tightly locked together. Humans weren't just merely surviving, they were actively participating in something larger: a tribe, a community, a shared future. Purpose was woven right into the fabric of daily existence. And while our outside world has changed dramatically, this ancient machinery inside our heads, it remains largely intact. Our brains are constantly searching for direction. They desperately want to know why our daily efforts actually matter. So the most pressing question for humanity isn't really about survival anymore, it's about significance.
Which brings us to one of the absolute greatest paradoxes of modern civilization, the comfort paradox. For nearly all of human history, people struggled against scarcity. But today, millions of us are struggling against an abundance. We have an absolute avalanche of information, entertainment, options, and endless distractions. We essentially traded the struggle against scarcity for a completely new kind of struggle. When pure comfort becomes our constant, everyday baseline, meaning actually becomes much harder to spot. Modern life is amazing at handing us an endless supply of pleasure, but it leaves us with a severe deficit of purpose.
So, why does understanding this difference actually matter? Well, think about it. A person can spend hours consuming content, hours online shopping, hours just chasing these tiny fleeting hits of digital stimulation. And yet, they can arrive at the very end of the day feeling strangely hollow. Why is that? It's not because they failed to experience pleasure. It's because pleasure and purpose are absolutely not the same thing. Pleasure feels good in the moment, for sure, but purpose feels meaningful. While our brains absolutely crave both, pleasure just cannot answer that deeper, haunting question: why does any of this matter? Because we lack that deeper answer, so many of us spend years, sometimes decades, believing that real fulfillment is just hiding out there in the future, just slightly out of reach. We trap ourselves on this exhausting treadmill of achievement. We tell ourselves, it's the next promotion, it's the perfect relationship, it's the bigger house, it's hitting that magical financial milestone. We become deeply convinced that reaching just one of these destinations is going to finally unlock permanent satisfaction. Yet reality usually unfolds very differently. You hit the goal, the excitement washes over you. And then something incredibly frustrating happens. That emotional high fades, and it fades because of the cruel mechanics of adaptation. As a species, we are remarkably, almost frustratingly, good at getting used to improved circumstances. Neurological studies actually show that our dopamine baselines can completely reset in just a matter of weeks. So what once felt absolutely extraordinary eventually just feels entirely normal. What once seemed completely impossible eventually just feels expected. This is the exact psychological mechanism that explains why achievement alone rarely creates lasting fulfillment. The human mind is always adjusting the baseline.
There is a saying that perfectly captures this. The dream becomes reality. The reality becomes routine, and the routine becomes invisible. The destination we thought would finally save us just keeps moving. The horizon just keeps expanding the very moment we finally arrive. So, if achievement can't permanently satisfy us, it raises a totally fascinating question about human nature. Why do we keep relentlessly chasing it?
Well, at first glance, we might think ambition is just this superficial chase for wealth or status or getting recognized by our peers. But look beneath the surface, and you'll see ambition serves a vital psychological function. It creates much-needed direction. It organizes our daily chaotic efforts. And most importantly, it gives us a crucial reason to actually endure difficulty. Think about an entrepreneur building a company from scratch, or an artist obsessed with perfecting their craft. Ambition isn't just about crossing the finish line. It's a psychological tool that gives our daily, grueling struggles actual weight and significance.
And this reveals a truly fascinating quirk about us. We are actually way more fulfilled by the pursuit than the possession. We are more fulfilled by the growth than the arrival, and more fulfilled by the progress than the completion. This is exactly why so many people report feeling the most alive when they're in the thick of it, working towards something incredibly difficult and important, during the pursuit itself, rather than after they've actually won the prize. Purpose transforms raw effort into significance. It makes the struggle not just bearable, but incredibly valuable.
But what happens when we're totally disconnected from that kind of meaningful pursuit? That's when we hit the modern crisis of meaning. Even with our unprecedented technological progress, the psychological symptoms of this disconnection are literally everywhere you look. We see massive burnout, chronic low-level dissatisfaction, a creeping emotional numbness, a heavy existential anxiety. It's a lingering, haunting sense that something critically important has just been deleted from the script of our lives.
And social media radically intensifies this emptiness. Every single day, we're bombarded with these carefully curated highlight reels of other people's successes. Luxury lifestyles, flawless relationships, extraordinary experiences. It acts as constant glaring evidence that someone else out there is living a deeply meaningful life. But what we're actually consuming is comparison without context. We compare our own very messy, behind-the-scenes reality to someone else's heavily edited highlight reel. And that leads to deep, unsettling confusion about our own choices and our own worth. Society is constantly shouting at us about what to desire, but it very rarely tells us why.
But humans are resilient. Throughout history, we've intelligently mapped out ways to fight back against this creeping emptiness. Whether it's through religion and community seeking deep connection, art and creation demanding contribution, or service and leadership driving personal growth, these paths might look different, but they all share one core psychological function. They forcefully move our attention beyond our own self-interest. They demand contribution, connection, and a sense of responsibility to something much larger than just our own immediate comfort.
Now, participating in something larger doesn't magically eliminate human suffering. We all know that. But what it does do is provide the necessary context to endure it, and context changes absolutely everything. Pain without meaning feels entirely unbearable. It literally crushes us. But pain with meaning? That feels transformative. It becomes a necessary, expected step in a much larger, vital journey.
Because beneath every dream you have, beneath every ambition, and beneath every single achievement, this one question will always quietly remain. Why am I doing this? Purpose is not some optional bonus feature of human existence. It's not a luxury reserved for the lucky few who have it all figured out. It's a fundamental, driving force that dictates exactly how we experience life itself. Without it, success feels incredibly hollow, comfort feels totally incomplete, and progress just feels completely directionless.
Our minds were never designed to just survive in a padded room of comfort and endless entertainment. We were designed to pursue, to strive, to create, to actively contribute to the world around us. And honestly, perhaps this is exactly why so many people keep searching, even after they've achieved everything society told them would make them happy. Because our deepest, most fundamental desire isn't simply to have more, it's to mean more.
So the crucial point we have to arrive at is this final, somewhat sobering turn. Purpose is not a hidden treasure sitting out in the distance waiting for you to just stumble upon it. There is no algorithm that can calculate it for you, and no level of achievement that guarantees it. It actually emerges through action, through taking on responsibility, through commitment, and through continuous growth. It is something you have to continuously create, day after day, through highly deliberate choices. It requires your active participation in life itself.
In a world that is increasingly filled with endless distractions and just a deafening amount of noise, this search for meaning might honestly be the most important psychological journey you ever undertake. The question isn't whether life inherently contains purpose. The real question is whether we are willing to actually create it. The search never truly ends. It simply becomes the story of your life. Just a little something to think about as you navigate the noise of the modern world.